Today's session is all about how we can motivate others. So I'm really excited to be hearing all your questions, all your thoughts, and I'll explain in a moment why I even decided to do this topic. We're talking about how to motivate others. Now, the reason why I decided to do this topic today is because last week I saw so many of your comments, and I try my best to get through as many of your comments as I can. And when I was looking through these comments, I noticed that a lot of you said, how do I get other people to change? How do I get other people to think like this? How do I get other people to feel motivated? There's a lot of negativity around me. How do I get the people around me to start thinking differently? How do I get the people around me to start changing the way they behave, changing the way they feel? And it's only natural in our lives that we all feel that way at a time. We feel that we want people around us. It's like, so I want you to tell me, I want you to write in the questions section. So I'm doing this session because so many of you are asking that there's people around you that you want to influence, motivate, change for the better. And I want you in the comment section now to answer this question. Who's motivated you? And how did they do it, right? And that second part's really important. I don't just want names of people or mum or your dad or whatever it is. I want who motivated you and how did they do it. It can be just one sentence, right? What did they do to motivate you? Did they shout at you? Did they show you something motivational? Did they enroll you on a course? What did they do that motivated you? So I want you in the comment section to write down who's motivated you in your life and how did they do it? Particularly, what method did they use to do that? And I'll be reading them out. Kirti, can you change other people? You can only work with yourself to work around them. We'll definitely take that question as well. So we don't have the power to change anyone. We don't have the power to impact anyone, but we have the potential. We have the opportunity to be a positive influence on people's lives by introducing them to the right types of thoughts, by incentivizing them to look at particular ideas, to look at particular insights. We all can do that. You've had it done to you. So who has inspired you or motivated you and how did they do it? Sudarshan, my brother motivated me by his actions. Brilliant. Tell me what some of those actions are. Eleni, my Pilates and yoga teachers. Awesome. But what did they do? How did they motivate you? What was it about what they did that motivated you and inspired you? Shauna, my mum, teaching me that all beings deserve this earth. From the insects to the humans, all other beings, all things deserve to live free of suffering and exploitation. Beautiful. Charlene, my uncle, he just showed me what he has now for working hard and being the best he can be. Man, my mum motivated me. Whenever we're ill, we just rest. But mum, when she is ill, she does all the work and then takes rest. Wow, thank you for sharing that. Imagine all of us positively impacted the life of one person today and every day for the rest of our lives. That's why I often say we need to redefine what we mean by the word billionaire. It should be someone who positively impacts 1 billion people. That's the definition of a billionaire. So if we start by doing one a day, from now for the rest of our lives, maybe they'll add up to 1 billion. If there's any mathematicians in the audience, please do the figures on that and let me know. Now, the reason why we're doing this topic is because so many of you are asking, how do I inspire people around me? How do I get other people to think differently? Now, it's not as simple as giving them a shake. We all know it's not as simple as tagging them into a motivational video, even though you should carry on doing that. It's not as simple as tagging them into a motivational quote or sending them a quote on Instagram or Twitter or Snapchat. We know it's a lot more than that, even though those little things help. But what I want you to notice, out of all of you that have shared what motivates you, who's motivated you, and how they've done it, the interesting thing is that all of your answers are different. No one said exactly the same thing. Now, there may be some patterns, there may be similar methods, but the first thing I want you to realize is that anyone can motivate anyone else, but we all play different roles. The way we motivate others, the method of motivation is completely different. It's based on a subjective personal experience. Just noticing that and observing that makes us realize how every single one of us can motivate. Often in the past, it was seen as though to motivate others, you needed charisma, or you needed to be enthusiastic. But notice that everyone's role in motivating others and inspiring others can be very different, all the way to the extent that even someone who criticizes you, even someone who put you down could be a motivation, right? Even to that degree. So it's not just that the people around us who are positive all the time have the biggest influence. How many times have you given advice to someone right? Just let me know if this is you. Press the like button if you can relate. How many times have you ever given advice to someone? A month later, 2 months later, maybe a year later, they come back to you and say, oh my God, I just got this amazing advice, right? I've just been given this amazing advice. And they share it. And it's exactly the same thing you told them like a year ago. How many of you have ever had that before? And this time they're claiming that someone else told them, they read it in a book, they heard it somewhere else, and they're not saying it was you. And in your head you're thinking, yeah, I told you that. Like I thought of that like a year ago. But it happens all the time because people have got to be ready in their own journey to realize the point at the right time. Saurav, I feel that self-motivation is the best. Yes, people around us do their part, but after all, we need to convince ourselves. My dad taught me this. I completely agree that for our own motivation, we really have to rely on ourselves. It's a very powerful way to do it. I'll tell you an example. There was this one young man, he walked in to a newsagent. And when he walked into the newsagent, he was on the phone and he was begging this lady to give him a job. And he was saying, you know, I mow the lawn, I'm a gardener, I'd love to come in, I'd love to take care of your garden, I'd love to sort this out, I'd love for you to hire me, I'll do it cheaper than the person who works for you right now. And this lady, he could tell, was just rejecting this man on the other side. And her response to him was, no, the person who's doing it already is absolutely fine. The person who's working with me already is doing the job better than I need him to, and he's taking care of every part of the home and taking every part of the garden. So this gentleman put the phone down, and the newsagent said, wow, your dedication to wanting a job is colossal. Your motivation to want to work and do that work is amazing. I'll give you a job here if you want one. And the man said, no, it's fine. I don't need one. I'm absolutely fine. And the newsagent said, why? How does that make any sense? Like, you were just really begging this lady for a job, and now you're telling me you don't want one when I'm offering you it. He said, I actually already take care of that lady's house. I was just pretending to be someone else to get some self-feedback. He goes, I'm just making this up, just made up this scenario just to see how she would react. He goes, I already mow her and already take care of her garden, but I was just pitching myself as someone else to see how she actually felt. That's how we get our own motivation. We have to get self-appraisal. We have to get self-feedback. Thank you, Sora, for that fantastic point. Thanks for pointing that out. Frank, my mother motivated me by her example of helping and teaching others endlessly. Carla, I have to be a good leader so my daughter would have a good example, to have a good heart and always help whoever needs help. Ava, actually you have motivated vast numbers of us. Thank you, Ava, really appreciate that. Thank you for pointing that out. Cameron, hi Jay, if you don't believe in yourself, then how do you expect anyone else to? Okay, awesome. So let's shift into this space now of how can we motivate other people. The first thing I want you to understand is there are various ways of motivating, and people need different methods. If you look at someone like Warren Buffett, right? Warren Buffett motivates people. If he invests in stock, everyone invests in stock, the stock goes up. If he withdraws from some stock, the stock goes down. That's one type of motivation. Then you look at someone like Oprah. She interviews people and brings insight from people that we would never meet, that we may never hear of. And that motivates us as well. But notice the motivation is different. So they looked at 1,000 leaders and they asked people to rate on the scale of whatever it was, 1 to 10, 1 to 100, how inspirational they felt those leaders were. And then on top of that, the qualities and attributes that person had apart from being inspirational, influential, and motivational. And they came out with 6 top qualities. Now I want you to listen to these carefully because I want you to identify which bucket you think you're in. Notice that none of them are better than the other, but all of these are different ways and methods of motivating others. The more you understand about how you function and how the people around you function, the more likely will you be able to motivate them directly. Nidhi, it's easier to motivate others, but why does it become different when it comes to motivating ourselves? Well, I remember an old Zen story. And in this story, it said that the student approaches the senior monk, the lead monk, and says, you know, I'm struggling to motivate myself. How do I motivate myself? And the monk replies, motivate others. When we make that difference in other people's lives, we'll learn through it. So keep doing what you're doing. You're doing nothing not wrong, Nidhi. Keep going and you will find the answer. Oliver, it's a wealth for us to motivate people. Yes, totally. It's a privilege. So these are the 6 qualities, the 6 characteristics that I want to share with you today. The first one is that being a visionary. We are inspired and motivated by people who can see big pictures clearly. These people often have their head up in the clouds, but they can see a vision. They can see it clearly and they can communicate it to people, to a team, to a community, right, to society. We're inspired by people who have big picture thinking. Are you someone who has big picture thinking? Are you someone who can inspire people in that way? Second one, these people are called enhancers. They listen effectively one-on-one, and they're great at emotionally connecting with people. They are the kind of people that say, don't give me a crowd, give me a conversation, and I'll be able to connect with that individual. Is that you? Are you someone who motivates and inspires people better when you're having a one-to-one conversation? It requires you to listen with fresh ears, see a situation with fresh eyes. Remember, are you listening to respond, or are you listening to listen? When we listen to listen, that makes us a great enhancer. The third type, driver. Are you a driver? Accountable, results orientated, someone who's going after that responsible result, wanting to achieve something. That motivates people around us. The fourth type is someone who's principled. People who do things the right way. Believe it or not, we're still inspired by people who do things the right way. Now, we may not see them on media or in the news all the time, but we are. We're inspired by people with integrity. We're inspired by people who do things the right way. Fifth, enthusiast. People who have passion, people who have energy. We're all enthused by them. We're inspired and motivated by them. And sixth, people who are technical experts. People who technically understand what they're talking about. We're inspired by that. Those are 6 ways in which we can motivate and inspire, and 6 ways in which people are motivated and inspired. Notice that different people at different times will need different types of motivation. Think back into your life when you know you needed a visionary in your life. And then think back to another moment where you actually needed someone who's an enhancer, someone who just sat with you and discussed with you. Notice what you need now, and notice what the people around you need. If you've got a list, if you want to do this properly right now, make a list of the people that you want to motivate, people that you want to help. Faizan, what's the second action one should take if the motivation did not affect them in any way? Try another method of motivation. Notice that you've got a 1 in a 6 chance of getting it right, plus that person's emotion, plus the situation they're in. See, motivating others is as much about what you say as it is about caring for them, really understanding them, really having that compassion. Motivation is more about care and compassion than it is about communication. When your care and compassion is solidified for an individual, your communication will motivate them much more likely. The odds will be much higher than if you just speak to them about what you find motivational. Often we motivate others by sharing what we find motivational, not what they will find motivating. Brilliant to see this. Ria, how do you sound authentic in motivating others even when you are demotivated? That's a great question, Ria. Thank you so much for posting that. And the answer is when you care and you have compassion. See, when you care for others, when you're compassionate to others, that's when it will be authentic. And similarly, you need to apply that same care and compassion to you. You have that same patience and love for yourself. It will allow you to motivate yourself and move forward. Let's really help people get equipped with the tools. See, I believe that people do want to make a difference, right? I strongly believe that all of us want to have a positive impact. We're just not always equipped to know how to do that. So these sessions, I'm trying to help equip all of you, anyone else out there as well. And all of you already have fantastic ideas adding to the ones that are being shared right here, right now. People need different motivators at different times. You have to know which role you play and which one they need. Kevin, Jay, is it possible that our style of motivation does not work on someone and that we should trust that someone else is better fit to motivate that person? Totally. And that's why the more you understand about what the person needs, the more you'll be able to connect them with the right person, Kevin. Thanks for asking that question. Donna, as a motivator yourself, what's your greatest obstacle? Love that question, Donna. One of my biggest obstacles is not being able to extend myself fully to everyone, and therefore I have to accept that I can't be there at every moment with everyone. I'm not able to have that immense power, right? So the obstacle is actually accepting that you can always try your best, but you won't be able to be everywhere all of the time, that you can't serve people to the degree that you would like to serve. And just accepting that can be quite an obstacle sometimes in this journey. Motivate by example, Jules. Yes, so when I was sharing this on social media, when all of you were tuning in online, I was speaking about the need to lead by example, that your example travels further than your words, right? What you live by, your actions, propel much further than your words, than just what's coming out of your mouth. And it's so important that we live by example, because that example will stand the test of time. The people that we look up to, that we admire today, are people that live the same way for years. They're the people that we truly admire. So listen more than you talk when you're building up that empathy and compassion. And remember, use open-ended questions. Really hear from that person. Motivation is more hearing from the other person than it is speaking. Right, brilliant to see. Rupali J, how to stay motivated when some people around you want you to lose your focus. So people don't want you to lose your focus. They just have a different focus, and naturally their energy gravitates towards that focus. You've always got to find gravitas and gravity to always move towards your focus, and that comes through daily reminders, daily meditations, daily affirmations, daily reminders that help you reconnect with what truly matters to you. Pavika, motivation slows down with me. What do we do to keep it intact? Keep trying to motivate others. If you're always trying to serve, pass it on, it will remain. Tejas, are you afraid that people whom you motivate might grow up in a career and in a life more than you? How do you quote it? Interesting. Not at all. I think the greatest thing for anyone is that the people that they share messages with become more successful than them. I think that has to be an aspiration. I think there's a great quote from Kevin Spacey where he says that if you've got the privilege of reaching great heights, you have to send the elevator back down, right? It's part of the responsibility, and seeing people fly. And we should have coaches like that. If you've got mentors, motivators, people who are coaching you, and we should be like that. We should be open to the fact that the people that we're serving, the people that we're sharing insights with, may propel to greater heights than us. It's the biggest compliment of what you've been teaching. So not at all. Wishing everyone all the success possibly. Trinton, I create motivational, inspirational posters and share them, as well as being an artist in order to motivate people through visual motivation. I love that. So many people are visual thinkers, visually motivated. Definitely a fantastic thing to do. Revity, does motivation come from knowledge and life experience? Yeah, both of them coming together. Both of them have to be united. Definitely true. So I want to talk about the 5 layers of how we rise through motivation. The lowest way of being motivated is actually for fear, right? We're motivated by fear. We're motivated because we're scared. We're motivated by getting things wrong. We're motivated, what will happen if I don't do this? Will I lose out? Will I not make sense, right? We're motivated by fear. That's one of the lowest forms of motivation. But nevertheless, it's sometimes what kicks us into action. It gets us going. So if right now what you're motivated by fear, don't worry, just roll with it. It will help you work. Someone around you sometimes will be more motivated by fear. I found this when I was training and coaching executives in their online personal branding and in their online speeches. I found something phenomenal. I found that people who had made it, people who had achieved career success, were more motivated by fear than they were by opportunity. They were more motivated by what they could lose rather than what they could gain, or the fear that their competitor or their peer was doing better than them or was doing more than them. That motivated them more. So fear is a very low form of motivation, but it's there. Right? Rising up from fear is the desire for power. It's the opposite. It's kind of like, okay, I was scared of everything, now I want to own everything, right? That's a higher form of motivation, when we want power, we want influence. Higher than that is when we want results, right? Results for ourselves or results for other people as well, when we're trying to drive results. Higher than that level is duty or responsibility. We feel we have a duty to our family, our loved ones, our parents. We have a duty and a responsibility. That's a higher form of motivation. It comes from the goodness within us, that responsible, integrity, authentic place. And the highest form of motivation is when we do things out of love. Now, what I'd like you to do is take those 5 layers. So you can take fear at the bottom. Higher than that is power, then results, then duty or responsibility, and the highest is love. And I want you to write down the things in your life. You can write down what you do for work. You can write down a hobby. You can write down your relationships. You can group them into one of those categories that fits with you. And the general idea is that we're constantly trying to raise ourselves through those layers. So if you start by doing something out of fear, you want to get to doing it out of love, or at least out of duty and responsibility, or at least for results, just growing through that journey. I hope that really, really helps. Richard, Joshua, how do we motivate our young adults or adolescents? Introduce them to young people that inspire them. People want to be inspired by people that they can be like, that people that they can connect with, right? So it's important to do that. D, what would be a great motivation practice when having a busy life? Create a daily routine that removes the busy thoughts out of your mind. Half of the reason we feel busy is because we're not organized. As soon as we get organized, there's a great book called The Organized Mind. Definitely take a look at it. It talks about how we can build daily routines to create that organization. Jules, I find that having true compassion for someone can become exhausting, especially when the person doesn't help themselves moving forward. How do you take care of yourself in the process of motivating others? The key is to connect with people according to their reciprocation, according to their dedication to the process of growth. Now, we can't extend ourselves to absolutely anyone and everyone. So what we do is we put the net out, we extend ourselves, and then based on the people who come forward, based on the people that are growing, based on the people that are committing to taking action to grow, those are the people that you invest more in. That's the natural way in which we live. So it may mean that if someone's not doing that, you connect with them once a month. But the person who is actually growing, you're connecting with them once a day, once a week. So we're doing things in proportion to the other person's commitment and dedication, right? Does that make sense? I hope it does, Jules. Thanks for that point. Great to see that coming along. The Organized Mind is an eye-opener, says Caprice. Brilliant. I'm glad you've read it. Isha, how to motivate when I know resultant action will have a negative effect in my life? No, we don't know that. That's one of the funny things, that fear makes us think we can predict the future. Now, you can observe, you can research, and if your observation and research suggests that, fair enough. But definitely it's important to start that process going, start moving forward. Now, how to motivate others? One of the first ways, this was talked about for many years, it was said that to motivate others, you have to give them rewards. That's why you saw all these rewards turn up. Now, the interesting thing they found through research, motivating people by rewards means they're always motivated by the reward. So if you remove the reward, they'll stop working. The same thing happens with other people. You can tell them, oh, every time you do this, I'm going to take you out, I'm going to buy you this. Hence, with young people, motivating with the rewards isn't always the most healthy thing to do. Because as soon as that reward is removed, they lose their motivation. Hence, finding deeper motivations for people is much, much more powerful. And the way to do that is what I'm going to call giving them an experience. We're all motivated by feelings. Those lower feelings of fear, revenge, jealousy, hate, envy. Those are lower forms, but they are feelings, they're experiences. Or when you've been somewhere and you've had the most joyful experience and you want people to experience that, that's how most of us motivate others. I want you to remember, and you can type it in, the last time you saw a movie and you thought, I can't wait for my friend to see this movie. I can't wait for my parents to see this movie. I can't wait for my cousin to see this movie, right? When was the last time you saw a movie, you heard a song, you read a book, and you thought, I can't wait to tell someone about it, right? Just think of that moment. Write the book, name the movie as well. That may inspire a bunch of other people. Remember, sharing what motivates you can always inspire others too, even when you least expect it to happen. So I want you to just think about that for a moment. Now, the interesting thing about that is when you've had an experience, when you've read a book, you've watched a movie, you've heard a song, and it's had a lasting impact, you can't wait to tell people about something. So if you're trying to motivate someone else, they need to have that experience. You need to take them on an experience where they feel things they've never felt before. You can't just expect them to learn it through theory and advice. We have to experience changes to want to live them. So next time you're motivating someone, think about, how can I make them experience this principle? How can I make them experience this point rather than just telling them what it is, right? Experience over just telling. Think about that. Think about experiences. Love motivates us to move us forward in life, right? When you don't have love, we go to the lower forms and we move up the ranks. If you can't find love straight away, don't worry about it. Often we just need motivation to get going. If that's fear for now, that's fine. Just see it transform in the journey. Donna, innate motivation. Talking about motivators like writers and poets, they can get reach, but they still go on course. They're born motivators. Subhadra, thanks a ton. Thank you so much for that. That's really, really kind of you. Tane, what if you're trying to motivate people, but they wind up stabbing you in the back? Wow. They end up using you. You've given them everything, your time, energy, but they end up stabbing you in the back. That's part of the journey of a genuine change maker, a positive change maker. A motivator is remembering that you're doing this for you and to serve. It's not for wanting something back, right? Part of this journey of connecting with others, sharing with others, is to recognize that your reward is in the motivating. It's not through something that person has to come back and do for you. You'll find in your life many people that you've served and helped that won't come back to do the same, but you'll notice there'll be other people who'll come back and do the same for you. Recognize we're always in that journey. People are helping us in ways that we've never helped them. We're helping others in ways that they've never helped us. That's how the world goes around. That's how it works, right? Just accepting that really, really helps us. Anima, how can we motivate our loved ones in being enlightened in a spiritual path? Spirituality is hard to motivate people by. They'll be more motivated by a change in your behavior than they will through your sharing of what it is. And I've noticed that more in spirituality than anything else. When someone comes back and starts telling you to practice spirituality, etc., it can be quite scary. It can be, oh my God, what kind of change is required? And often the hardest thing about that is that they don't notice a change in behavior in the individual propagating spirituality. So for any spiritual practitioners out there, the main key is seeing a change in your behavior. Your example will carry it much further. Brilliant to see all of your comments coming in, guys. Keep them coming. Actually, what happens when you fail to motivate the people who matter? You won't always win. It's so much of it is based on the mind of the individual. But notice, have you tried everything out? First thing was, have you been careful and compassionate and conscious? Second thing is, have you taken them on an experience? And the third thing, I was doing this earlier today, is emphasizing progress. How many of us have taken the time to encourage and notice people's process? They found that life satisfaction is 22% more felt by people who value the small accomplishments in their life, and people who value the smaller, littler, tinier milestones that we all take in our lives. And when we recognize those and we accept what we're capable of, that gives us more motivation for doing what's next. It's not always that we spend our time figuring out what to do. When we focus on what we've done and what that took, that can be a great source of motivation for what's next, right? Focus on the achievement, what you've achieved and what you can achieve because of that mindset, because of what's already been achieved. Donna, your living is determined not so much by what life brings to you as by the attitude you bring to life, not so much by what happens to you as by the way your mind looks at what happens. Khalil Gibran, thank you for sharing that great quote, Donna. Brilliant to have that. Now, this was really interesting. I was reading an article, I believe it was on the Harvard Business Review, and this gentleman was telling or sharing an experience that he recently had. And he was talking about how at one point he was walking by New York, he was actually in New York, he was walking in New York, and he saw a van, a disability pickup van, helping to come pick up this disabled elderly gentleman coming out from his building. And this gentleman was struggling to come down the stairs of his building. It was quite cold, it was quite slippery as well. And 5 other people that were walking to work, on their way to work, they saw this, so they went to help the man. Now, the man who was actually doing his job, he was sitting inside the van, staying warm, sitting there comfortably. He could see this man coming out, but he didn't attempt to come outside and help him. He was still waiting inside. This gentleman and 4 other people from the city that were walking to work went and helped this elderly man, gradually brought him to the place, and then realized that the van needed to lower its lift so that this gentleman could get up. So what they did is they had to ask the gentleman who was driving. They said, can you come out? This gentleman needs help. The man, without any hesitation this time, came out completely, helped raise the lift, lower the lift, put the gentleman inside, and then drove off. Now, these 5 people talked for a while. They were wondering, why is it that this gentleman didn't come out to help the elderly gentleman who is struggling? And they came up with some options. I want you to think, why would he not do that? If you saw someone struggling to get down the stairs, it was your job, you were paid for it, you were right there in the van, would you come out and help them? And if you were walking by, would you help them? Yes or no? And why do you think that that person did it? So these 5 people are having this conversation. Number 1, they said maybe he wasn't allowed out of the van. Maybe it's law that he has to stay inside. They checked it out online. That wasn't the case. He had to be within eyesight of his van and couldn't be more than 100 feet away, but this was right opposite across the road. So that wasn't the case. They thought the second reason could be he's just an idiot. But they thought, no, he wasn't, because when we asked him to help, he was more than happy to come out of the van and help out. The third thing they thought was, maybe it's because he sees this all day. Every single day, this gentleman is picking up people with disabilities, and maybe he's just become so immune to it, he's used to it happening. He's just so, but they weren't happy with that answer. The funny thing then they found is, how is it that all 4 of us, 5 of us, all decided to help when it's not our job, when we're doing other things, and we felt like doing it? The remarkable thing was then found by Dan O'Reilly, who writes this great book about motivation called Predictably Irrational. And he talks about how when we're paid for stuff, that's not necessarily the only motivation. They found that maybe this gentleman didn't because he was actually paid for it. We all find a great sense of being and being human when we're able to do things, when we're not paid for it, when we do something for nothing. And if you remember, if you want something for nothing, you'll get nothing for something. And that's why we should always be looking as to how we can do something for nothing in return. We're looking for those opportunities, and often we don't find them in our jobs. Often we find them just walking by on the streets. Now, the research goes a bit further. What they asked, they had 3 groups, and in these 3 groups, they had paid options and unpaid. They asked people, the first group they asked, they said, we want you to drag. They created these 2 experiments. And on the experiment, they had a circle in one side, left-hand side of the screen, and on the right-hand side, they had a square. And the idea was they had to drag these circles and drop them into the squares if they were dragging and dropping useful information. The first group was told to do it for 5 minutes and said in 5 minutes you'll get $5. The second group was told, we'll do it for 5 minutes, you'll get 50 cents. And they said, the third group, we just want you to do it as a favor for a friend. So the results were, the group that was paid $5 for 5 minutes dragged 159 circles. They found that the group that was given 50 cents dragged only 101 circles. And they found that the group that was asked to do it as a favor for a friend dragged 168 circles, beating the group that was paid $5 for 5 minutes. Now notice they scaled this research as well. And they found that we have this innate desire, we have this human side to us to want to make that change, to want to make that difference, even when we're not paid for things. So pay is not necessarily the best reward, right? What satisfies us, helping others, making a difference in other people's lives, motivates us. It's not always for return. They did the same thing with a group of lawyers who were paid over $100 an hour. And they said, we want you to do something for $30 an hour. And the lawyer said, we can't do that, we get paid $100 an hour. They then asked them to do the same task for free. The people volunteered and gladly did it. It's because their worth when it was free was based on their self-worth of giving, servitude, helping someone out, whereas their self-worth when given $30 demoted them by $70. Notice how motivation is so much more subtle and intricate than we expect it to be. Just think about that for a moment, about how you're rewarding yourself in your journey and how you're rewarding other people, right? Sharing that experience will definitely help. Alexandra, how to motivate friends by making supportive comments which mask as underlying constructive criticism to keep others from getting defensively as you're trying to help. Right. How many times have we all done that? Trying to give feedback, you know you're making a criticism, but you're trying to do it in a clever way. Now, more often than not, I'm going to give your friends the benefit of the doubt that they're smart people. They probably know. People know when you're insinuating something. People know when you're trying to get a message across without necessarily telling them directly. People aren't silly. But if it makes them feel respected, and if it helps them not get defensive, and it benefits them, that's definitely the right way to do it. So actually you're already doing the right thing. If you can be totally honest with someone, that's fantastic. Notice sometimes giving examples of how other people have dealt with, telling stories of other individuals in the same situation can also help motivate people. Honesty is amazing when people are ready for it. If people aren't ready for it, you're right, they can get defensive. Hence what you're doing, Alexandra, is fantastic. Staying motivated after your purpose changes. Staying motivated after tragedy, Joshua. Your purpose will change, it will evolve all the way through life, right? Don't worry about being glued to one. It will evolve, it will elevate. So that's absolutely fine. So find motivation for that. But staying motivated after a tragedy, it's natural for anyone to have a dip, to have a lull, to have that period through which you just need to get through stuff. You just need time. Right? And at that point, you need to get people who have energy around you. You need to surround yourself by the people that make a difference in your life. And notice the people that you've been motivating, they may not be the ones to find you, but other people who you may not have motivated will come and be there and surround you. So becoming motivated after a tragedy, accept that it takes time. Focus on finding a community or a group that really motivates you. And most importantly, give yourself that time to heal. Don't pressure yourself. Give yourself that time, right? I remember a period in my life when my health, I was struggling a lot of the time with my health. And I remember for 9 months having to really focus in and hone in on myself to then be able to give back again, right? So notice and recognize that we all need that. What's the secret for the consistent motivation? I'm only motivated for the moment, says Rajdeep. Thanks for sharing that, Rajdeep. That's all of us. It's a constant cycle, right? It's kind of like being clean. I believe a famous quote is about taking a bath. It's like, motivation is something you've got to find every day, just like you've got to take a shower every day. So it's not that one day of getting motivation is going to last the whole time. Find what motivates you, do it daily, whether it's watching a TED Talk, whether it's watching or tuning into one of these live sessions, whether it's reading a page of a book, whatever it is, make sure you do it daily. That's how you keep something consistent, making it part of your daily routine. Divya, what are the smallest things that one can do to keep oneself motivated on a daily basis? So yeah, just gave some tips right there. Read the same thing every day. Read a part of a book, read a chapter, read a page, create daily habits, meditate on a daily basis. Create daily habits that work for you around meditation, reading, ideas, connections, insights, whatever it is that just sparks that throughout your day. I know for me, it's reading a quote every day. Quotes keep me going, keep me excited, keep my minds on the right thoughts. Meditating makes a massive difference for me as well. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion on how we can motivate others and how we can make a difference in other people's lives. It's definitely something that we can all focus on. If you're feeling that the people around you are surrounded in negativity, they're not really able to move forward, notice that we've got to look at the right method. Do they still need to be motivated by fear? Do they need to be motivated by results? Do they need to be motivated by love? Everyone needs to be motivated by love, but our journey is not as simple as that. People can't go from nothing to automatically being motivated by love. Let them go through the layers, let them go through the levels, and really recognize, do they need a visionary? Do they need a big picture to motivate them? Do they need one-on-one communication? Do they need someone to drive them to some sort of achievement? Do they need principles? Do they need an enthusiast? Do they need an expert? Think about them, put them at the center of that growth, and you will see massive things happen. Guys, I hope if you don't follow me already and you've come here for the first time today, click like on the HuffPost Rise Facebook page so you can follow them and get a notification every time I'm live. And follow me on Facebook as well. I'm at JShettyIW. Come and find me, give a like to the page, and connect with all this thought that we're throwing out every day, trying to introduce you to experts, insights, and ideas that can really, really change your life. Come and think out loud every single day in the same time, same place. I hope you join me again tomorrow for another session, another topic. If you've got any ideas, anything you want me to cover, let me know. I'm really excited. We've got some great guests coming on the show in the next couple of weeks, and I can't wait to introduce you to them. I hope that you'll join me again tomorrow. I hope that you'll share this afterwards. Remember, anyone can watch these videos as a live recording, even if they can't watch it live. I hope that you'll join me again. Thank you so much. Have a great day, great morning, great evening, great afternoon, wherever you are, and I'll see you tomorrow. See you later, guys. Take care.